I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to say something that might make you uncomfortable.
Almost everything society taught you about success, hard work, and aging is wrong. Not slightly wrong, fundamentally wrong. And I know that because I believed it for more than half a century. For over 50 years, I did exactly what I was told. I worked harder, stayed later, sacrificed weekends, postponed joy, and convinced myself it would all be worth it someday. I chased promotions, bigger paychecks, nicer things, and titles that sounded impressive at dinner parties. From the outside, it looked like success. From the inside, it was just exhaustion dressed up as ambition. Here's the part that hurts to admit. It took me 52 years to realize I was running in the wrong direction. 52 years of my life went by before I finally understood what actually matters. By the time the lesson became clear, my hair was gray, my body was slower, and time, real time, had become painfully limited. I'm not sharing this to sound wise or dramatic. I'm sharing it because I don't want you to repeat my mistake. I don't want you to wake up one day, decades from now, realizing you traded your life for a version of success that never truly fulfilled you. This video exists for one reason only, so you don't waste 52 years learning the same lesson the hard way. If you're willing to listen, I might be able to save you a lifetime. I was 52 years old when my body finally forced me to stop pretending everything was fine. It happened during an ordinary work meeting. A long table, fluorescent lights, people talking about deadlines and numbers that suddenly felt very far away. My chest tightened, my vision blurred. I remember trying to stand up, and then the room collapsed with me. The next clear memory I have is the sound of sirens and a stranger's voice telling me to stay awake. At the hospital, doctors moved fast. Monitors beeped. Words like heart attack and lucky floated through the room. They told me I survived. They said I should be grateful. And I was, but that gratitude came with something heavier. Lying alone in that hospital bed, staring at a ceiling I'd never noticed before, a realization hit me harder than the pain in my chest. I had been living on autopilot. Decades of my life had passed without me truly being present. Wake up, work, chase the next goal, repeat. I had followed the script perfectly and never questioned who wrote it. That night, for the first time in my adult life, I asked myself a question I couldn't ignore. If I died today, what would I actually leave behind? Not my job title, not my bank account. What would remain of me as a human being? The answer scared me, and it changed everything. There is one lie almost every modern adult tells themselves, and it sounds harmless at first. I still have time. Time to be happy later. Time to slow down later. Time to live later. You tell yourself you'll enjoy life when you retire, when the money is enough, when things finally calm down. But here's the reality no one warns you about. That later keeps moving. You reach one goal, and the finish line quietly shifts. Get the promotion, and suddenly you need the next one. Earn more money, and your lifestyle expands to match it. Buy the house, then worry about upgrading it. The target never stays still because the system is designed that way. you're rewarded just enough to keep running.
People call this success. I call it a trap. Because the satisfaction you feel when you achieve something, it's short-lived, maybe a day, maybe 2, 48 hours if you're lucky. After that, the excitement fades and a familiar emptiness creeps back in. So you set a new goal, not because you truly want it, but because you don't know how to stop.
You think you're chasing freedom. In truth, you're just moving your prison to a higher level. Bigger responsibilities, higher expectations, less time. And if this feels uncomfortable to hear, that's because somewhere inside you recognize the cycle. You're not watching a story about someone else. You're watching your own life play out in real time. I had a friend who believed in next year. He worked relentlessly until he was 68 years old. Every plan, every dream, every break from work was postponed. Next year we'll travel. Next year I'll slow down. Next year I'll finally live. He told himself he was being responsible, disciplined, strong. Then one morning he suffered a stroke and never made it home from the hospital. At his funeral, his adult son stood quietly by the casket and said something I still can't forget. I almost didn't know my father. Not because the man was cruel, not because he didn't care, but because he was always busy preparing for a future he never reached. That sentence should terrify you. It still terrifies me.
I have my own regrets. There was a trip to Japan I promised myself I'd take once work slowed down. It never did.
There were family relationships I assumed I could fix later, once I had more time and less stress. Later never came. I missed dinners, birthdays, ordinary afternoons that would mean everything now.
But my deepest regret is this. My father died suddenly at 45. I told myself I'd see him more when things settled down at work. They didn't. One phone call ended every possibility of next time.
I don't regret money I didn't make. I regret moments I can never buy back. And if this makes you uncomfortable, good. Regret is quiet at first. Then one day, it's permanent.
There's a truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Every one of us is living on borrowed time. Not someday, not later, right now. You don't know how much time you have left, and neither do I. That uncertainty is not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up.
So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Not out loud, not to me, to yourself. If you died tomorrow, who would you regret not calling? Whose voice would you wish you had heard one more time? What conversation did you keep postponing because you thought it could wait? If tomorrow never came, what life would remain unlived? What dream did you keep delaying because it felt impractical? What version of yourself did you silence because it didn't fit the plan?
Here's the part that surprises people. I am happier at 73 than I ever was at 30. Not because I have more money, not because life got easier, but because I finally understand the value of time. At 30, I spent my days believing time was infinite. At 73, I know it is precious.
Awareness changes everything. It sharpens your choices. It makes nonsense feel unbearable. It forces you to decide what actually matters. So answer the questions. Sit with them. Let them make you uncomfortable, because discomfort is often the moment just before clarity. And clarity, if you let it, can still change your life.
Stop waiting for permission. No one is coming to tell you that now is the right time. Life does not send official approval. Every day you delay, you quietly agree to stay where you are.
Stop postponing happiness. Joy is not a reward you earn after suffering long enough. It is a choice you make while things are still imperfect. Waiting for everything to be ready is the fastest way to let life pass you by. Stop chasing other people's validation. Their applause will never be loud enough, and their silence will never stop. If your worth depends on being seen, you will always feel invisible. Start by calling your parents today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel successful enough. Call while there is still time to hear their voice and say what matters.
Take the leave you have been postponing. Rest is not weakness, it is maintenance. A tired soul cannot see clearly, and a burned-out mind cannot choose wisely. Say no to obligations that drain your spirit. Not everything that asks for your time deserves your life.
Choose experiences over possessions. Objects fade. Moments shape who you become.
This is a new way of living, intentional living. Prioritize relationships over achievements. Forgive before it is too late. There is no perfect moment. The only real time is now. I do not know how much time I have left. The body gives small signals before it gives answers, slower steps, longer pauses, moments where silence feels heavier than words. I am not afraid of that anymore, because for the first time, my life does not feel unfinished. I used to think fullness came from achievements, from being seen, from arriving somewhere important. I was wrong. Fullness comes from awareness, from realizing that every ordinary moment was never ordinary at all. It was time passing quietly, asking to be noticed. When you understand that time is limited, happiness stops being something you chase. It becomes something you protect. You listen more carefully. You forgive faster. You choose rest without guilt. You call people while their voices are still here to answer. This is the truth I learned too late, and yet just in time. Time awareness is not a source of fear. It is the source of clarity. It strips away what does not matter and leaves you face to face with what does. Love, presence, choice. I spent decades believing someday was waiting for me somewhere ahead, but someday never lives in the future. Someday only exists in the moment you are standing in right now. Do not waste 52 years learning what I learned at the end. There is no perfect time coming. Someday is not later. Someday is today.
One day you will realize this. The only question is whether it will be too late. Time does not wait for certainty. It only waits for courage. Do not spend 52 years learning what you could choose today, because someday is not in the future. Someday is today.
If this moment made you pause, consider liking this video. And if you want more stories that remind you what matters, subscribe and stay a little longer.